Thing that causes a lot of conflict in our lives, and I list these as two, but they really fall under the same umbrella. It is this: misunderstanding and miscommunication. Do you realize that there are a lot of conflicts that are started because we misunderstand people? Or we miscommunicate. It is so very easy to do either one of them. Here's what the Bible says in Proverbs 18, verses 1 and 2. Through desire a man, having separated himself, seeketh and intermeddleth with all wisdom. Meaning, wisdom is something you got to seek after. But he said in verse 2, a fool hath no delight in understanding, but that his heart may discover itself. The premise of those two verses is this: a wise man wants to understand. Therefore, he's willing to have conversation and he's willing to ask questions. A fool, on the other hand, has already made his mind up. He's scared to death to find anything that will make his conclusions he's already drawn untrue. And so he doesn't ask questions, okay? And can I say this, when it comes to conflict, either our misunderstanding and or our miscommunication has caused a lot of problem. Here's what's happening with Paul and Barnabas. They ain't understanding each other. Barnabas is not open to understanding why Paul thinks it's a bad idea to take John Mark, and Paul, on the other hand, is a little bit probably not. He's dismissing the idea that Barnabas wants to take him because, as his uncle, he feels like he can help him grow and to a different level of maturity. They're missing each other on that point, and because of that, they're nose to nose, and eventually they part ways, never to serve with each other ever again. And can I say this morning? Listen closer to me. This evening, excuse me, it's not morning anymore. But I'm afraid, if they would listen to me, I'm afraid that if they would just maybe had heard each other's response and concerns, took a day or two to pray about it, and got a little counsel, all this could have been avoided. But instead, here's what they done. In this text, they had the argument, made a spur-of-the-moment decision, and ruined everything. Brother DJ, what's wrong with, in the middle of a conflict, backing away from it and saying, you know what, I'll tell you what, let me pray about this before I make a decision. Matter of fact, let me do this. Let me lay this out before somebody, a couple people, because there is a safety in a multitude of counsel. Let me lay out this scenario, and I'm not going to call my BFF. I'm not going to call the one that's got my bracelet and my necklace, because they're going to figure out who in the story I am, and they're going to tell me I'm right, because that's what BFF does. Let me get a neutral party involved and say, okay, here's a scenario. I'm going to tell you what happened. I want you to tell me what you think about it. And do that 2 or 3 times. And what you'll find, if there's any wisdom involved, that wisdom will start meshing together, and that answer will start kind of looking uniform as to maybe who was right or who was wrong, and or the better way to handle that. And if they would have done that, all of this, listen to me now, could have been avoided. But they didn't. And because they were miscommunicating and because they were misunderstanding, what you had was a situation that escalated into a conflict that parted the... And I don't know how all this lands at the judgment seat of Christ, because it's not my account to give. But I just know this: it leaves us with the church to know that, hey man, it don't matter how good of a Christian you are, you can get in some pretty heated conflicts. And I really wish this would have been a doctrinal disagreement. But it wasn't. It was over a guy who was going this time or not. It really just makes no sense at all. And so we see that this misunderstanding and miscommunication is, if you get better at it, you'll prevent some conflict maybe in mine and your life.